sprinting, 100 meters, 200 meters, and the relay. So the 100 is from these cones here, or markers, all the way down there in between those two trees. It's before the sidewalk. So there will be 2 people down there. We only need 1 timer and then a recorder. We could have a 3rd person here if possible at the beginning to make sure that they're paying attention and lined up straight and nothing's going on over here. So preferably 3 people on this event. So the leader will put their arm up. They all know that by now. I've done it 100 times. When their arm goes down, that means run. They're all running at the same time. So all the girls will be in a line, and then behind them all the boys. So all the girls will run at one time. We only need 1, 2, 3. We pull them out, we move them to the side. We can write down their names.
So we need 3 timers.
No. Nope, don't need 3 timers. 1 timer. All they're gonna do is read their time. Okay, so they pull out the top 3, move them to the side. Just write down their name. Don't write down a score, just write down their names. The girls will get back in line. The boys are gonna run. You're gonna take the top 3 boys, you're gonna write down their name. You're gonna let them get back in line. They will run it 1 more time. If it's it may be the same kids. It may be 2 different kids. So we want to take 1, 2, 3 of all of those. Most of the time it'll end up being the same kids, but it might not. So what you're going to do is whoever was top 3 in either one of those will have the opportunity to run it individually. So you're only going to take those top 3, and it may end up being 5 because there may have been a kid that did faster the second time. So that way they have got 2 chances to do it. So then they get to run it individually. So there'll only be maybe 10 kids that need to have an actual time. And at that time, there really only need to be, you could have, if we were busy, we could have 2 timers and 2 separate groups going, and they could handle that. A boy group and a girl group, if you need to do that. But it really doesn't take very long. It's about 20 seconds per kid, so it's not going to take very long. So they have the option, I'm just training them this week on using a block. The only kids who are using a block are the kids that make it to the finals. And you don't need to explain the blocks to them. They've already been trained on it. They either are comfortable with this or they're not. They do not have to use a block. But if they are going to use a block, their hands need to be behind a line, up, and then they take off. It just gives them an opportunity to really increase their speed, but it's something that they're just practicing. They're not going to be very good at it yet. And some of the kids will say they don't want to use it, and that's fine. So so the maximum amount of kids that we would be timing would probably be a total of 10 with boys and girls. Does that make sense? Okay, so the 200, so don't forget, so at that time, obviously the recorder would take top 1, 2, and 3 times only. So it's going to be, there'll be multiple girls that'll get 19 seconds, but we're going to want to know who's got 19.1, who's got 19.2, who's got 19.3. The 200 starts here at where the first cone is. Should be a straight line there.
With the flag.
It's also the beginning of the relay, by the way. So the first flag. All the girls will be in a straight line. All the boys will be behind them. We'll only time this once. All the girls will go. So what we need is, it's going to be very crowded. There'll be multiple people in the middle. It's very hard to see. So we're going to need a person with a megaphone down here. Or, well, what we can have is, like I said, the adults have got to be here at this cone, getting them lined up and watching the adult down here. There will be 3 timers. 3 timers. Because we need first place, second place, third place for the girls. And we need first place, second place, third place for the boys.
Because the 200's not as close as the 100.
Right. The 100, yeah, it's not as
So
close
they'll
as the
be
100.
pretty definite.
So they're all the girls go, they run around this cone and straight through here, they pass the line, you read their time, they're done. And then of course the boys would go. So that's it.
Relay.
Relay. Relay's not done until everything else is done. It's really important that all the kids sit down if they're not being in the relay. And the relay team already knows their places, they know where to go, we have practiced this. There is team 1. Everybody on team 1 will go first and they will set themselves up. So first cone is first person, second person, third person, fourth person. The 4 cones that were in the 400 and the 800. The 4th person does not run a full 100. They actually end here at the end line. So We have heat 1 will go. Now, at each one of these corners, we need a person here just to make sure that the start gets done correctly. I will be saying on your mark, set, go probably from down here. And at first, the volunteer will just be making sure they're all lined up and they're, ready to go. There should be a line judge at each one of these other cones. There is an exchange zone. It is marked in blue or a different color. Hopefully it'll be in blue. And they have to take, so as the person's coming to them, so let's say my first person is coming and I'm at the second cone, there is a line here and then there's the cone. I'm allowed to come up here as kind of like a head start or a lead off. I start my turn, here's my cone. I must get the exchange of the baton before I exit that exchange zone. There's an exchange zone that goes here, around the cone, and ends here. So that exchange of the baton needs to be within that area. They've been practicing this for weeks. They are disqualified if they do not make the exchange within
And don't
that,
go around
that.
the cone.
Right. They go around the cone.
So they're disqualified if they cut.
Yes, I've never had anybody. I think they're pretty good on that. But yes, if they cut the cone, they would be disqualified. So there's an exchange zone in each one of these areas. And then so after we run the first, they will exit to the side. We will need 3 timers. So we will need 3 timers plus 1 person at each cone. So that's a lot of helpers. There's going to be 7 to 8 helpers at this event.
But it's the only one going on at that time.
It's the only one going on, correct. So at the end, then immediately I will call for team 2 to go. While they're doing that, those 3 teams are just going over and recording their score. Or the timers can go over and say this was first place, second place, third place. Because what we do with the timers is you take first, you take second, you take third. So the person knows what place they are stopping on. And then they just walk over the times. Then we're going to run the second heat of all of our second teams. And they will run the same thing. We will compare the scores and see, which one's got 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, don't forget, immediately head over with those scores. Don't forget the honorable mention. You can do that with a relay team as well.